Title of today's class, Children of the Lord or Children of the Corn. I know that's an old movie most of y'all probably ain't even saw. But I just want to play the trailer. Give me that trailer.
Prepare to witness the horrific rise of the next generation of evil. Children of the Corn.
I know that was a little dramatic. But that's good. You understand what I'm saying? That's why it's important for us to follow what God said when it comes to raising our children so they don't end up like that. All right? Give me that John chapter 8, verse 32. John chapter 8, verse 32.
The book of John, chapter 8 and verse 32. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
So one thing I know about this truth is you're going to find out about yourself. You're going to find out about yourself. You're going to find out about how you was raised. You're going to find out about your mama, your daddy, your auntie, your uncle. You understand what I'm saying? You're going to find out about your children. You understand what I'm saying? You're going to see them for who they are. You're going to look in the mirror and see yourself for who you really are. What society has done to you. Your mentality. You understand what I'm saying? That's what God is talking about when he's talking about the truth. All the way around. There's levels to it. You understand? The psychology on how you think, how you see things, how you feel. You understand what I'm saying? Is it righteous? Is it right? You understand what I'm saying? Is you supposed to put so much stock in the emotions or feelings of your children that you disobey God? That's what we're going to go into. Get Psalms 127:3.
The book of Psalms, chapter 127 and verse 3. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord.
So children are a heritage unto the Lord. Read.
And the fruit of the womb is his reward.
And the fruit of the womb is his reward. So children are heritage. Heritage going into, let's look it up. Let's get the definition. Give me the definition of heritage. It's going into your customs, traditions, the things we're supposed to instill inside the next generation, right? We're supposed to instill what's funny to them, what they should be getting upset at, what to like, what not to like. You understand what I'm saying? We're supposed to instill those qualities into our children. You understand? Let's see. It says heritage. It says property that is or may be inherited, an inheritance, a special or individual possession, and allotted portion. Read the verse again.
The book of Psalms, chapter 127 and verse 3. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord.
So the children are heritage to who?
Of the Lord.
Of the Lord. Of the Lord, right? But our children are our responsibility. But give me that in Ezekiel 4, because I want to show you something. Ezekiel 18 and verse 4. It says, children are a heritage unto the Lord. All right? Read that in Ezekiel 18 and verse 4.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 18 and verse 4. Behold, all souls are mine.
What?
All souls are mine.
God says all souls are his. Read.
As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine.
You see that? You see what God's saying? It's your child biologically. He's saying the child is your responsibility, but that's his soul. That's his spirit. So you're supposed to nourish it and treat it with the rules and regulations that he provided. Not according to how you may feel or according to how that child may feel. Right? Read it again.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 18 and verse 4. Behold, all souls are mine.
Nah, just some of them.
All souls are mine.
Just a few.
All souls are mine.
Read.
As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine.
So that's why it's important. Just like we have to sacrifice our bodies for the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? We got to do this. We got to have that same expectation for our children. We got to nourish them up right, because 99.9% of us wasn't nourished up right. We was raised wrong. So that means the habits and things like that we developed, some of that stuff still lingering on us. And we still emotional to a degree. You understand? Especially on this side over here. And that emotion stops you from doing what you're supposed to do, that you know in your mind you're supposed to do. Right? Give me that in Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. This is what we're supposed to do.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 22 and verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
So the Lord said we're supposed to train up the child the way they should go. So as we learn, guess what? We're supposed to implement these things to the children. Get that Deuteronomy 6 and verse 1. Let's start there. Because at the end of the day, society, we already know what society doing. Doing our children when we send them to school and stuff like that, we know what they're doing. You understand what I'm saying? This world is ran by Satan. You understand? So we have to fight that much harder to discipline our children, discipline their emotions, and erase all that BS that they put in our head, and we didn't have no way to combat it. You understand what I'm saying? So now that we know what's right, this is what we got to do. Go ahead and read.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 1. Now these are the commandments and the statutes and the judgment which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that they may do them in the land whither ye go to possess it.
So read.
That thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, and keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son, and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged.
So we know when we look in society at the children today that they have no fear of the Lord. So it's our responsibility to make sure that the children that we bringing up in this truth have a fear of the Lord, a healthy fear of the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? That means making them come around when they don't want to come around. Ignore their feelings. They don't got no feelings. Their feelings is your feelings. This is what I know. I'm 43 years old. I wish I was raised in the laws of God. I wish I had that opportunity. You understand what I'm saying? I wouldn't have made a lot of the mistakes I made. I'm saying a lot of us all feel the same way. You know? But it is what it is now. So guess what? It ain't going to be no excuse. Don't give them no excuse. Keep reading.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 3. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee.
Ain't nothing wrong with the commandments. So we saying all it's going to do is help you. There is no negative effect or consequence by doing what God says. Read.
And that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers hath promised thee, in a land that floweth with milk and honey.
Read.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
So that's why we teaching these things. So we got to be consistent at it so they can learn to love the Lord as we learn to. Right? Keep reading.
And these words, which I command thee this day, shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt talk with them, when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up.
Read.
And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and thou shalt be as frontlets, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes.
Read.
And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house, and on thy gates.
You see that? So it's supposed to be your lifestyle. God's, just being in the house is supposed to be a reminder of the Lord. Looking around, they're looking at pictures on the wall. They got to have something to do with God. They're looking at writing on the wall in the house. They got to have something to do with God. That's what God's saying. That's what we have to do, because guess what? When they go out in the world, they ain't going to see nothing about God. Nowhere. They're not going to see nothing about God. Only time they're going to see anything about God is when it's dealing with you. and wherever you lead them. So you got to arm them. You got to arm them. All right? Give me that in Psalms 78. Psalms 78, starting verse 1.
The book of Psalms, chapter 78 and verse 1. Give ear, O people, to my law. Incline your ears to my words, to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which ye have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children.
Read that part again.
We will not hide them from their children.
So we're going to tell, what's God saying? Tell our children everything. Everything that happened. You know how in the world, this is one of those things we learned in the world. Oh, they too young for this. No, they not. They need to know what the white man did to our ancestors. They need to know that. They need to know the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. They need to know that. That way they don't grow up trusting them like we did. They don't make the same mistakes we did. They don't know what's good for them right now. You do. Read on.
Psalm 78 and 4. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praise of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children.
So we supposed to make God's laws known. All the miracles that happened in the past that our forefathers did. You understand what I'm saying? They need to know all of those things. They need to know that we the greatest. They supposed to walk around with their head up in the air, snooty toward the nations. You understand what I'm saying? They supposed to look at them like they ain't nothing. They ain't supposed to be trying to be their friends, trying to emulate them in no type of way. Trying to deal with trends and all that type of stuff. Anyway, go to Sirach. Sirach 30 and verse 1. This is how we fight. The Lord telling us this is how we combat what society trying to do to them. Society is trying to turn our daughters into Nicki Minaj's and Cardi B's and Megan Thee Stallions. Trying to turn our sons into Young Thugs and Lil Babies. They can give a bag of honey buns and a purse to another man. That's crazy. That's crazy work right there. Woo. Where's we at? Chapter 30.
Book of Sirach, chapter 30 and verse 1.
Come on.
He that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod.
Read it again.
He that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod.
So guess what God's saying? God's saying if your son hard-headed, whoop his butt. According to the scriptures. Whoop his butt. Whip him. You understand? I got a lot of whoopings.
Man.
I got a lot of whoopings. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I got a lot of whoopings. But that lady right there. And my grandmama. It wasn't biblical whoopings. But it was whoopings of biblical proportions. I'll tell you that. I remember getting chased out. Dang, stuff out. Read it again.
The book of Sirach, chapter 30 and verse 1. He that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod.
Read.
That he may have joy of him in the end.
So they may have joy of them in the end, because when the scriptures say foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. They don't know right from wrong. You teaching them that. They got to learn that from you. You understand what I'm saying? And when they don't want to listen, guess what? You got to tap that side a little bit. You know, get them back on the path. Let them understand. You know what I'm saying? That's God said that for a reason. That's what we need. We need that. You understand what I'm saying? Drop down to verse 8.
Sirach 30 and verse 8. And horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful.
Willful. So guess what? When you get to the point to where you like, being inconsistent, knowing that that child needs to be disciplined, that child gonna be headstrong. It's gonna be willful. You understand what I'm saying? You're gonna end up like that lady that we saw in the video, talking about complaining but doing it at the same damn time. You just gonna you just gonna sign up for the football team without letting me know nothing. I ain't got no money for no cleats, but then as she's running her mouth saying what she ain't gonna do, she's doing it. Why? Because her child is willful. He already knows that she's going to do whatever he or she wants. Read on.
Verse 9, conquer thy child, and he shall make thee afraid. Play with him, and he will bring thee to heaviness.
You see that? Some of us want to be our children's best friend, and when you do that, you put them on the same level as you. Now they just talking to you any kind of way. They talking to you like they your age. You and your child on the equal on y'all. You getting up going to work every day, and you come home and she talking to you like she got off too, or he talking to you like he got off too.
Hey, can I say something?
Go ahead.
I got this scripture heavy. I got a auntie and some cousins, right? And she partied with her son like when he was a kid, like, you know what I'm saying, young. And now she afraid of both. She afraid of both of her sons. She don't even let them know where she lived. You know what I'm saying? Because it is right here. She you know what I'm saying? She partied with her kids like he was 6, 7 years old, smoking and drinking. You know what I'm saying? That's what she did with her son. And he turned into a monster. You know, and both of her sons. And she afraid of them. Like they gonna do something to her. Because they did it before. You know what I'm saying? So don't play with your kids.
Right. So now they got to the point where they disrespecting her. They not honoring her. They disrespecting her because she allowed them to be willful, and she was trying to read the next verse. Read the next verse.
Verse 10. Laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end.
See that? Now, it's not saying don't have fun with your child. It's saying don't be laughing at him when he do something stupid. You know, like that first video we played when the child had that mouth, well, not the first, but one of them videos with the little child, he just running his mouth freely, saying, don't whoop me. I don't want no whoopers no more. We find that funny. That ain't supposed to be funny. You know what I'm saying? That ain't supposed to be funny.
Like it's cute.
Right, that child's mouth ain't supposed to be running like that. That wasn't cute. You know, parents in these days, I don't know, man. I don't know. I wouldn't have, I got so many butt whoopers.
She old. That's crazy.
Say it in the mic. Don't.
Like my bad. She old school. Like this is my mama auntie. You know what I'm saying? So this is my great auntie. Like but that's what she was in the street, and she, you know what I'm saying, she didn't discipline her kids. You know, they didn't have no sense of consequences, none of that. So if you don't correct your child, they got a correctional system for them.
Right, and that's facts. A lot of us got family members we know. I know it's popping in your images, popping in your head of your family members right now that y'all know fit that scripture. You understand what I'm saying? Just think about them. You understand what I'm saying? Think about them and how your children could be if you don't implement the discipline, if you're not consistent with it. Not to be overbearing or nothing like that, but don't just be letting. Read the next verse.
Verse 11. Give him not liberty in his youth.
Read it again.
Give him not liberty in his youth.
Say. Read it right.
Give him no liberty in his youth.
It said, give him no liberty in his youth. Read.
And wink not at his father.
Don't be winking at winking at when he or she do something stupid. You understand what I'm saying? We're supposed to keep a watchful eye over our children. They ain't supposed to be able to just. These kids today got too much damn liberty. I'm just gonna be honest. They got too much damn liberty. You know, at a certain age. When you get at a certain age and you got a lot of liberty, guess what parents used to do? Kick kids out the damn house. That what happened to me. My mom got too big. I got kicked out. That's how it go. Read on.
Verse 12.
Now, you know, we living according to the scriptures now, so you know what I'm saying? You gotta be wise with that. You understand what I'm saying? We gotta take care of the child till they 20 years old, unless they just doing something like you got a son putting his hands on you, or a daughter, she just violent like that, then you know you might have to get the authorities involved. You understand what I'm saying? If you're not safe in your house. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, I gotta clean it up real quick. You understand what I'm saying? But some of us, I was one of the ones that had to learn the hard way about disrespect. But read on.
The book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 12. Bow down his neck while he is young.
Read it again.
Bow down his neck while he is young.
That's the key part. While they are young, while they're still, their minds are still moldable. While they still have your attention. You understand what I'm saying? You got to be instilling God's law, statutes, commandments, and his discipline. You got to put that in their brain so they have it. You understand? That way, if they decide to go off and they turn 20, 21, or whatever, they decide to go off, then you're not going to feel no type of way. When it's time to like, well, you know, I did the best I could. Bye! You got to go. Because you're going to have other children. Because guess what? You're going to have other children. And you can't let that one that wants to be willful and do what they want, taint them. So that's why you got to be mindful. That's why you got to stay consistent and diligent. Keep reading.
Verse 12. Bow down his neck while he was young.
I came into the truth with 5 kids. Most of y'all only seen 3. You understand what I'm saying? Because I wasn't going to let the other 2 taint the other 3. The oldest 2 taint the other 3. It is what it is. Read on. Because I know how I have 4 uncles, and I know the influence that they had on me. They was about 7 or 8 years older than me. You understand what I'm saying? I know the influence that they had on me. You know what I'm saying? And I know that people that, like, when you have older siblings and stuff like that, they have an influence on you. They have an influence on you. And if that influence is not a righteous one, guess what? The younger ones are going to follow that. It is what it is. And you got to be a parent and discern that. You know, they say all money ain't good money. All children ain't good kids. You know, it is what it is. It is what it is. We're going to get to that. That's scriptural. Right. Keep reading.
Verse 12. Bow down his neck while he is young.
Meaning give him no liberty. Read.
And beat him on his sides while he is a child. Lest he wax stubborn.
Lest he what?
Wax stubborn.
A lot of kids get stubborn. Why? Because you're not consistent. You're supposed to be stubborn when you're whooping that. When you're beating them on the sides. Consistent. Fervent. You understand? Read.
And be disobedient unto thee. And so bring sorrow to thine heart.
Because guess what it's going to make you look like? Your kids represent you. Right. You know what I'm saying? Everything that they do is what you do. They see you doing, especially if they're around you all the time. That's what they are. They are walking little yous. So, you know, if you're running your mouth all the time, guess what your child gonna be doing? Running around, running their mouth all the time. You know what I'm saying? Saying everything they think. They don't got no type of government for their mouth. Guess where they got it from? Their parents.
I pull the scripts on that.
Go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 18.
Yeah.
Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying.
So the scriptures say, chastise thy son while there is hope. That go back to the scripture we was just reading in Sirach. While he is young. While there's hope, because when he's young, he don't know no better. He's not an adult. He's still young enough to where you can mold him and train him up in the way to go. So beat him now. Beat him while he's a baby, while he's a child, because when he get a little older, what we used to start doing, we start grabbing that belt. We start grabbing the belt.
Yeah, the belt stop hurting about 12.
Right.
12, 13, you just looking at it like,
Right.
and like wasting each other's time. Right?
And we used to get ungodly beats too. Pipes, brooms, extension cords. We used to get punched in the face. All that. We used to get beat up. But, can you read that again? That's when we got a little older because we got too big. So the Lord telling you, do it while they're young now. And this is the key point. Read again.
Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying.
Because sometimes, you know, especially the mothers, they tend to kind of loosen up on him once he get the holler. It say, don't spur him for that crying. That's when you turn up. Oh yeah! That's when you go Super Saiyan. You know, so it say, don't spur for his crying. You know, and I think, because if you ease up on them, that's when they start doing some bad. You know, so that was it.
Right. Get Proverbs 29:15. Yeah, the Lord said don't spur when they cry. You know what I mean? Because guess what? That crying is that pain. That's the correction. They reminiscing while they crying. You know what they thinking when they crying? I ain't doing this no more. I ain't gonna do that no more. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on. Go ahead, read that.
29 what?
Read verse 15.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 15. The rod and reproof give wisdom.
See that? When they get to crying like that, they learn something. They just got smarter. They got wiser. Read.
Oh, the rod and reproof bring wisdom. Give wisdom. But a child left to himself bringeth his mother shame.
You see that? But a child left to himself, meaning you've been spurring a rod, you've been spurring their feelings and stuff like that, guess what? That child gonna embarrass you. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be having that one face and saying stuff like, I didn't raise him like that, I didn't raise her like that. Everybody will be looking at you like, yeah, all right.
He gonna be the one on the news.
Right.
With the mug shot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Triple homicide.
Cause he was mad. Or she was mad. Right? Drop down to verse 17.
Verse 17. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto thy soul.
You see that? So we gotta correct our son. It's all over the Bible. We gotta correct our daughters. It's all over the Bible. And the Bible tells us, God tells us how to do it. You understand what I'm saying? Don't be trying to do it your own way. Like Esau, yeah, let's go stand in the corner and I'm gonna come talk to you. Nah, that ain't in the Bible. God ain't say that. We ain't finna talk it out. Ain't nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing to talk about. You know? Give me that Proverbs chapter 23. Proverbs chapter 23. When we come in this truth, we find out that our kids, you know, they got issues. They got issues, you know what I mean? They got issues. That's why, you know, we learn about that when we start correcting ourselves. And now you know what you got to do. You know what you got to do. Like what they be saying all the time, it's going to hurt me more than it hurt you. Proverbs 23:13.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 23 and verse 13. Withhold not correction from the child.
Don't withhold correction from the child. Why? Because you're making that child willful, you're making them stubborn, you're making them rebellious. Read.
If thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die.
He ain't gonna die. Just beat him a little bit before death, as long as he don't die. Nah, God said you got don't withhold that correction. Don't withhold that wisdom. We all want smart kids. I want my kids to be smart. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna whoop that. I'm gonna whoop them. I'm gonna beat them on the sides. You understand what I'm saying? So they may be wise. You know, so that they may be wise. Read on.
Withhold not correction from the child. For if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die.
He ain't gonna die. Read.
Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and thou shalt deliver his soul from hell.
You see that? You stopping that child from getting a one-way ticket to hell. Because guess what? If they don't got no type of fear of you or no fear of the Lord, they're going to go out there in the world, and guess what? They're going to join or stick to anything they see or feel and they ain't gonna have no armor on them. They ain't gonna have no warnings. They just gonna be stubborn and rebellious and just feel like they can do what they want to do. You understand what I'm saying? And you see how most of us was raised doing what we want to do. It didn't end us. It didn't benefit us. It didn't benefit none of us. Now we're trying to find our way back to the Lord. And the Lord is telling us to discipline our mind, soul, and body. We got to do the same thing with our children. We can't neglect that. All right? Give me that in 2 Maccabees chapter 7, verse 27. I'm mainly talking to sisters, you know what I'm saying? I'm mainly talking to these sisters. You understand? Read that.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 7 and verse 27. But she bowing herself toward him.
So we reading about one of our forefathers, foremothers. She had 7 sons, and her sons was being tormented, right? But watch this. Read.
But she bowing herself towards them, laughing the cruel tyrant to scorn, spake in her country's language, on this manner, O my son, have pity upon thee, that bare thee 9 months in the womb, and gave thee suck 3 years, and nourished thee, and brought thee up unto this age, and encouraged and endured the troubles of education.
So what is God saying? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy correcting your child, educating your child in the fear of the Lord. It's going to be painful. You understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? It's going to be painful, spiritually and literally. You know, when you beat them on the side, that's pain. And it makes them wise. You understand what I'm saying? You're going to have to sacrifice time, sacrifice a lot of things. You understand? But it's all to better their education so they can walk wise in this evil world. All right? Now let's read about Eli. Go to 1 Samuel. How much time we got? We have to skip some stuff. Go to 1 Samuel. We're going to read about Eli and his sons. Eli and his sons. So don't neglect to love your children. Loving them means keeping God's law, statutes, and commandments. Be this stubborn or her stubborn butt on the sides if it calls for it. Now, all your children, you know which ones they is. You understand what I'm saying? You know which one is the bad influence on the rest. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. You always. So, yeah, stop then. That's what you want. You want them to say, you always doing me like that. Yeah, because that means you doing your job. But they ain't saying that's what, you ain't doing it. Right. Boy, you always whooping me. You want to hear that. Now, get 1 Samuel. Let's read, start at verse 1. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramath-Mazah.
Yeah.
Ramathaim Zophim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, and the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, and the son of Zuph, an Ephrathite. And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children.
So Elkanah had 2 wives. Hannah was barren, and Peninnah had a bunch of children. So we know in the Christ ain't no 2 wives, so don't get hung up on that. Read on.
And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship, to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas.
So Eli was the prophet at this time, and Hophni and Phinehas, read on.
Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there.
Those were Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas. Read.
And when the time was, that Elkanah offered he gave to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah. But the Lord had shut up her womb.
So the Lord made her barren. Read.
And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb.
So you know how women get. You know what I'm saying? It was a glorious thing for women to have children in this time. But today it's just like, I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? But when, back in these days, having a child, being a mother was top of the scale. The women wanted to be a mother, wanted to have more. It didn't matter whether they lived or died. They wanted to bear children. Read on.
And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Then said Elkanah her husband to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons?
Hold up, wait.
Yeah, the bottom part. It said, and what? The bottom of the verse.
Than 10 sons?
So that's the sister who didn't have children. But Eli, the man right here, who was it? That was Elkanah. He said, am not I better to thee, talking to the woman who couldn't have children, than 10 sons? So it's letting you know, don't put children before your husband. And if you don't have none, again, he said, am not I better than thee than 10 sons? So if anything, she should have been with that man for him. So that was that.
Right. Read on.
Verse 9. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli, the priest, sat up upon the seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head.
So, guess what? She was barren. You understand? She understood that. So guess what she did? She went to the Lord about it. You understand what I'm saying? She went to the Lord about it. All right? Read on.
And it came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spoke in the heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunk.
So Eli thought she was drunk because he seen her mouth moving, but wasn't nothing coming out. Read on.
And Eli said unto her, how long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaints and grief have I spoke hitherto.
So she said, I'm not drunk. You understand? I'm in sorrow, I'm in grief, and I'm seeking the Lord right now. Read on.
Then Eli answered and said, go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him.
You see that? So at this point in time, the Lord was dealing with Eli for him to be able to say, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. You see that? Read on.
And she said, let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way, and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad.
So guess what that means? She believed what Eli said. Read.
And they rose up in the morning early, and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house to Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her.
And the Lord remembered her. So you know what that means. Read.
Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about, after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked him of the Lord. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer unto the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah went not up, for she said unto her husband, I will not go up until the child be weaned, and then I will bring him, and that he may appear before the Lord, and there abide forever.
So in her petition, she was saying she was going to wean the child. So she's sticking to what she told the Lord. Read on.
And Elkanah her husband said unto her, do what seemeth thee good, tarry until thou have weaned him. Only the Lord established his word. So the woman abode and gave her son suck until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, with 3 bullocks, and 1 ephah of flour, and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of the Lord in Shiloh, and the child was young. And they slew a bullock, and brought the child to Eli. And she said, O my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here, praying unto the Lord. For this child I prayed.
So she had to remind Eli who she was, because it had been 3 or 4 years. Go ahead, read.
For this child I prayed, and the Lord had given me my petition, which I asked of him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there.
Because those were the words, that's what she was saying that Eli didn't hear, that she was going to give him to the Lord. All right, now we finna get, go to chapter 2, drop down to verse 11.
1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 11.
Let's get into Eli and his sons.
And Elkanah went to Ramah, to his house. And the child did minister unto the Lord before Eli the priest. Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial.
They were sons of the devil. Read.
They knew not the Lord.
They didn't know the Lord, but Eli was the priest. And these were the priest's sons, but they didn't know the Lord. They was wicked as hell. What that mean? What characteristics they got? They was willful, stubborn, right? Read.
Now the sons of Eli were the sons of Belial. They knew not the Lord. And the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest servant came, while the flesh was in its seething, with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand. And he stuck it into the pan, a kettle or a cauldron or a pot, all that the flesh hook brought up, the priest took for himself.
So people would come offer sacrifices, the meat would boil, the priest would stick the hook down into the pot and pull up. And what they pulled up, that's what they ate, right? But look at what the sons of Eli did. Read.
All that the flesh hook brought up, the priest took for himself. So they did in Shiloh unto all the Israelites that came thither. Also, before they burnt the fat, the priest's servants came. The priest's servant came and said to the man that sacrificed, give flesh to roast for the priest.
He said, listen, I want the meat so I can roast it. I don't want it boiled. Read on.
For he would not have sodden flesh of thee, but raw.
Just bring it to me raw so I can roast it. Read.
And if any man said unto him, let them not fail to burn the fatty presently, and then take as much as thy soul desire. Then he would answer him, nay, but thou shalt give it to me now, and if not, I will take it by force.
So guess what they was doing? They was taking the meat. At first they would tell them, listen, I don't want to boil. I want to bring it to me raw. I want to roast it. I want to get it roasted. And if they was like, nah, you shouldn't do it. Basically, if the person corrected them, they was like, well, nah, give me that. They was taking it, right? So they was disrespecting the Lord right here. But keep reading.
Wherefore, the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord. For men abhor the offering of the Lord.
Read.
But Samuel ministered before the Lord, being a child, girded with a linen ephod.
So Samuel is growing up with them. You understand what I'm saying? They already grown, but Samuel being raised by Eli. You understand what I'm saying? So he not learning none of those wicked. He don't know what's going on. He ain't had nothing to do with that at this point. You understand? But he's around the priests. All right, keep reading.
Moreover, his mother made him a little coat and brought it to him from year to year, when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife, and said, the Lord give thee seed of this woman for the loan which is lent to the Lord. And they went unto their own home. And the Lord visited Hannah, so that she conceived and bare 3 sons and 2 daughters.
So guess what? The Lord gave her more sons, more children, more sons and daughters. So she had 5 more children after Samuel. Read.
And the child Samuel grew before the Lord.
So guess what is this saying about Hannah? This was a righteous sister. The Lord was dealing with her. Go ahead.
Now Eli was very old, and heard all that his sons did unto all Israel.
So guess what? Eli hearing the murmurings of what people saying about what's being done, right? With the sacrifices and such. Read.
Now Eli was very old, and heard all that his sons did unto all Israel. And now they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
So not only was they dealing wrongfully with the sacrifices, they messing with hoes. They messing with, read it again.
Now Eli was very old, and heard all the things his son did unto all Israel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Read.
And he said unto them, why do ye such things? For I heard of your evil dealings by all this people.
So I heard what the people saying about what y'all doing. Read.
Nay, my sons, for it is no good report that I heard. Yea, ye make the Lord's people to transgress.
What is he saying? Y'all are setting a bad example for the people, because at this time the Levites were the people looked to the Levites for leadership, right? So guess what? If they was messing with hoes, guess what everybody else was doing? Same thing. But read on.
Verse 25. If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. But if a man sin against the Lord, who shall entreat for him? Notwithstanding, they hearken not unto the voice of their father, because the Lord would slay them.
Right, they gonna die. You can't read.
And the child Samuel grew on, and was in favor both with the Lord and also with men.
So while Eli's sons was doing wickedly, Samuel was being raised upright. All right? Keep going.
And there came a man of God unto Eli, and said unto him, thus saith the Lord, did I plainly appear unto the house of thy father, when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house?
So this man of God is now finna give a small history lesson to Eli. Read.
Did I plainly appear unto the house of thy father, when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house?
So he's talking about Moses. Read.
And did I choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon my altar, and burn incense, to wear an ephod before me?
That's Levi. Read.
And did I give unto the house of thy father all the offerings made by fire of the children of Israel?
I gave y'all the sacrifices. Read.
Wherefore kick ye at my sacrifice and at my offering.
Why you disrespecting my sacrifice and my offering? Read.
Which I have commanded in my habitation. And honorest thy sons above me.
What?
And honorest thy sons above me.
What?
And honorest thy sons above me.
So what was Eli doing? He was hearing all the things that his sons was up to and looking the other way. Read on.
And did I give unto the house of thy fathers? No, we in verse 29. Verse 29, wherefore kick ye at my sacrifice and at my offering, which I have commanded in my habitation, and honorest thy sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the chiefest of all the offerings of Israel, my people?
Read that part again. And make themselves what?
To make yourselves fat.
He said, and make yourselves fat. So it just wasn't his sons eating the meat, eating that roasted meat. He was eating some of that. Read on.
To make yourselves fat with the chiefest of all the offerings of Israel, my people.
Read.
Wherefore, the Lord God of Israel saith, I said indeed that thy house and the house of thy father should walk before me forever.
That's what he told Levi. Read.
But now the Lord saith, be it far from me, for them that honor me I will honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed.
Listen, whoever honor me, that's why I'm going to honor. Whoever disrespect me, the hell with him. That's what God's saying right there. Read on.
Behold, the days come that I will cut off thine arm, and thy arm of thy father's house, and thou shalt be not an old man in thine house.
Read.
And thou shalt see an enemy in my habitation, and all the wealth which God shall give Israel, and there shall not be an old man in thine house forever.
He said, it ain't none of your generation gonna get old. That's what he told him. Read.
And the man of thine, whom I shall not cut off from thine altar, shall be to consume thine eyes, and to grieve thine heart. And all the increase of thine house shall die in the flower of their age.
They gonna die when?
In the flower of their age.
In full strength. When they at their strongest, when they look their best, the Lord said he putting them to death. All because Eli looked the other way. He corrected them, but he didn't judge them. He told them about themselves, but he didn't do nothing about it. He didn't discipline them. So they waxed stubborn. And they started disrespecting God and disrespecting God's people. Eli get judged for that. Read on.
And this shall be a sign unto thee, that shall come upon thy two sons, on Hophni and on Phinehas. In one day they shall die, both of them. And I will raise me up a faithful priest.
They're talking about Samuel.
That shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind. And I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine anointed forever.
Read.
And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left in thine house shall come and crouch to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and shall say, put me, I pray thee, into one of the priest's office, that I may eat a piece of bread.
All right, so I went through that to show how you neglecting to discipline your children, how they could grow up to be. Even though you could be recognized as being righteous, but if you're not disciplining your children, are you really? Are you really? Right? Oh my God, I gotta skip some of this. Go to chapter 3 and start at verse 10.
1 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 10.
So, just to speed up, the Lord ended up calling Samuel to the priesthood, and but just read on. Just read verse 10, chapter 3, verse 10.
1 Samuel chapter 3 and verse 10. And the Lord came and stood and called as the other times, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel answered, speak, for thy servant heareth. And the Lord said to Samuel, behold, I will do a thing in Israel, which both the ears of everyone that heareth shall tingle. It shall tingle. And that day I will perform against Eli all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will make also an end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knoweth, because the sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not.
Read that part again.
And he restrained them not.
He didn't discipline them. He knew what they was doing, and he didn't judge them. So they were willfully, they was just doing what they wanted to do and taking advantage because they was the priests, taking advantage of the people. You understand what I'm saying? Read on.
And therefore,
No. We're gonna stop right there. Get Sirach chapter 16. Go to Sirach chapter 16. So when you read on the next chapter, Hophni and Phinehas, they end up getting killed. The Philistines killed them. You know what I'm saying? They both died at the same time. The Ark of the Covenant got took. Whole bunch of stuff happened. You understand what I'm saying? That's because Eli didn't discipline 2 children. Read that, Sirach 16 and verse 1.
the book of Sirach, chapter 16 and verse 1. Desire not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight...
You read too fast. Read it again.
Desire not a multitude of unprofitable children.
What is God saying? All your children ain't going to be righteous. You have to make a decision. You have to know enough of your child, be in your child life enough to understand if this child is going to go off. Is this child going is he going to be a bad influence on the rest? Are you doing enough? Are you disciplining that child enough? Do you need to turn it up a notch? Try something different to make this child walk right, to help guide this child, to help, because it's help. It ain't because you upset, it's because you're trying to help the child. If you don't, as the scripture said, if you don't discipline, you hate him.
If y'all need some help, I'm giving out free ass whoopings. Just to let y'all know.
Praise be the Lord. Read that in Sirach 16 again.
Book of Sirach, chapter 16 and verse 1. Desire not a multitude of unprofitable children, neither delight in ungodly sons.
Neither delight in ungodly sons. There's dual. Don't delight in ungodly sons or ungodly daughters. You understand what I'm saying? Some of these little girls be fast out here. You got to start seeing some of those signs. Don't ignore them. You understand what I'm saying? Some of these little girls got too much liberty too, man. I'm just gonna leave it out there. They got too much liberty. You know, it is what it is. Read on.
Verse 2. Though they multiply, rejoice not in them, except the fear of the Lord be with them.
So God is giving you conditions. God said, don't rejoice in them unless the fear of God be with them. Unless they love the Lord, they love coming around the body, being involved. You understand what I'm saying? God said, you ain't supposed to be trying to enjoy, how I put this? Don't feed the foolishness. You understand? Reward the ones that got the fear of God in them. That's who you reward. That's who you nurture. That's who you keep close to. Don't let the other children that you know wicked as hell infect them. You got to protect their righteous spirit. You understand? That's what God's saying. God's saying it's going to be, all our children ain't going to be righteous. This just is what it is. It's written right there. It's saying it. Read on.
Verse 2. Though they multiply, rejoice not in them, except the fear of the Lord be with them.
Read.
Trust not thou in their life.
Read.
Neither respect their multitude. For one that is just is better than 1,000.
He said, one that is just, one that fears the Lord is better than 1,000 kids. Read.
And better it is to die without children than to have them that are ungodly.
You see that? Better it is to die without children than to have ungodly, a whole bunch of ungodly children. Because guess what? Like Jalil was bringing about his auntie. She terrified of her children. Why? Because they ungodly. She can't even tell her children where she lives. That's crazy. Read on. Oh, you got something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ephesians, real quick. Hold that. Ephesians 6 and 1, real quick. Ephesians 6 and 1. I like what the scripture says. It said, trust not in their life. Because most children, they'll tell you, they'll make a decision as if they know what they doing. They tell you what they want to do. But the scriptures say don't trust in their life. Meaning the decisions that they making don't mean nothing to you. Because the Lord said don't trust in their life. They making decisions on their own, they can end up getting judged by the Lord. But read this.
Ephesians chapter 6 in verse 1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right.
So why I say that? It said, children, obey your parents in the Lord, which is right. Because most children think, or some children think, they can go around the parents and go straight to the Lord. You can't go around the parents to the Lord. The scripture said the child have to obey the parents. So it ain't what God said. Notice what your mother and what your father says.
That's facts.
Read on.
Verse 2. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth.
Right. So that's what the Lord is saying. Honor your father and mother that you may live long. That is the point with Samuel and his sons. Verse 4.
Verse 4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord.
Right. That's going into correction. It said, provoke not your children to wrath. What wrath is that? That's talking about God's wrath. If you don't check your son while he's young, he grow up, police lock him up, he get 35 to life, 25 to life. So that's what that's going into. Provoke them not to wrath, because the Lord is going to judge them. So anytime you see a lot of these these kids being killed out here, little girls getting snatched up, believe it or not, the Lord say the parents got something to do, because you have not been correcting them. Now the wrath of God came up on them like it did Eli's sons. Eli didn't judge them, the Lord judged them. That's how they go down.
Right. Get 2 Ezra 14 and 34.
2 Ezra chapter 14 and verse 34. Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding.
So what's our own understanding? That's the understanding that we learned in Esau's society on how to raise our children. It's all wrong. You understand what I'm saying? It's all wrong. God said don't spare the rod, that he beat them on the sides, that he or she may be wise. You understand what I'm saying? If they consistently being rebellious, you consistently put fire on them sides. You understand? And you do it when they young. You know what I'm saying? If they didn't already they looking you eye to eye, they might be a little too big for all that. You gotta try to find other ways. You understand what I'm saying? To get the point across that you gotta fear the Lord when you in my house. You understand? Listen, if things ain't going my way, ain't nobody comfortable in my house. It just is what it is. You understand what I'm saying? It is what it is. That's how it got to be. Ain't nobody eating, ain't nobody. No. I'm just messing with y'all. Don't take that literal. Some people try to take that literal. But nah, things got you gotta be able to you have to be able to judge your household. You know what I'm saying? In the fear of the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? Your children gotta understand that. They gotta understand that. You understand? Because guess what? If you don't teach them that, they're gonna get judged. If you don't judge them, guess who's gonna judge them? The world is. And you're gonna be crying. It's gonna be a sad day. Read that verse again.
2 Ezra chapter 14 and verse 34. Therefore, if so be that you will subdue your own understanding.
Why I say subdue your own understanding? Because you're going to fall for the emotions. Nah, the Lord said don't worry about that crying. He ain't going to die. She ain't going to die. Whoop him. You know what I'm saying? Before he mess around, be a body boy.
Hey, you know what our own understanding come from? A white man. Mm-hmm. That's how we was groomed after his mind. And that's who tell us don't, you know what I'm saying, to be trying to understand your kids and things like that. Try to, you know what I'm saying, try to come on common ground with your kids. Don't beat them, don't whoop, you know what I'm saying, don't strike your kids and things. They got a hotline. That's just for us. We the only ones whoop our kids for real. You know what I'm saying? So that's where our understanding come from. We got to come back to what God said. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
That's right. Give me that.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Check. Check. All right, so back to what Officer Jalil just said. Don't let the influence of your child get to you, because your child is getting its influence from school and the world. Basically, you trying to keep them in the scripture, but they at school more often than they see you most of the time. So don't let their emotions and influence move you, because that's gonna bring the white man into your house. That's what it is. That's that white man lifeline to you. It's through your children. If you wanna comfort them in whatever way or however they feel, you supposed to give them the knowledge of the Lord and the fear of the Lord.
Hey, one more thing. It say some of them signs is such and such mama let them do this. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, those type of things right there, that's them signs when they trying to bring other influences in your house. You know what I'm saying? You gotta nip that in the bud.
Right. Get that in 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and start at verse 3.
The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh.
Read.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
So we gotta remember, this thing that we in right now is not a carnal thing. Raising our children is not carnal. Read.
For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations.
What's the imaginations that we're gonna cast down in our children here? That they can do what the hell they want to do. They got options. They don't got no options. Right. They don't make no decisions. Read.
Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God.
Read.
And bring it into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
So guess what? In a household, the man represents Christ. So everyone in the house is supposed to be obedient unto him. And ain't no man there, guess who? The woman. She's running everything. All the children should be in subjection to her. Get that in Sirach 3, and then we're gonna come back to this. Sirach 3 and 2, yeah, get that.
The book of Sirach, chapter 3 and verse 2. For the Lord hath given the father honor over the children.
Honor over the children, read.
And hath confirmed the authority of the mother over the son.
And the mother has authority over the children also. All right? Go back. 2 Corinthians 10.
2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ.
So that means you got to ignore your emotions. What I mean by ignore your emotions, when you know that child is worthy of that butt whooping, ignore that you're tired. Get up anyway and do it. You know what I'm saying? Get up anyway and do it, because they need it so they can become wise. Look at it like that.
We got whooped out our sleep when we was kids.
Right.
Go take a bath first.
They got it easy.
Bruh.
Man, I got whooped with hangers, switches, car antennas, swung on.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
Read verse 6.
Verse 6. And having in readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled.
So guess what? We learn to be under subjection and discipline ourselves under Christ. Guess what? Our children, we got to pass that down to our children so that they may fear the Lord. Get that in Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 1. We're going to close out. Y'all got something?
I got something.
Go ahead.
So yeah, you really want to get a hold on your
This
kids.
mic ain't working.
Yeah, you really want to get a hold on your sons now, especially while they're young, because if you don't, you ain't gonna have no peace in the house. You're gonna be stressed out. Then they can introduce drugs and alcoholism, drunkenness and whatnot. Cause you stressed out, you ain't gonna want to be at home because your kids running the house or whatnot. I had a similar situation happen to me. You know, my auntie had me, Obadiah, and 2 of her other sons, but because we were so bad and disobedient and whatnot, I was all right, you know. Because she was my foster parents, I was grateful anyway, but she ended up losing it. She ended up getting on drugs and whatnot, and she kicked everybody out the house. I was 13, the other brother was 13, the other one was 15. She just kicked everybody out the house and said, y'all do what y'all want to do, and she dipped. Whole another state and city. So, you know, best that you try to get it under control now, take the counsel, and so that won't happen to you.
Right. You know what I'm saying? My mother did the best she could. I was just stubborn. I seen too much. She used to try to put me on punishment and all that type of stuff. Man, I'm not trying. I'm out here. They over there doing this over here. You know what I'm saying? That's what it was. You know what I'm saying? You got to know when your child like that, it is what it is. That's why I got kicked out. You know what I'm saying? Her husband wasn't finna have me coming in all times of the night and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go into all kind of other stuff.
Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 1. Therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest at any time we should let them slip.
So give heed, take heed. Hopefully everybody got something out the class. This was important, man. You know what I mean? Remember what the scriptures say, especially dealing with the young men, right? Give me that. Just one more. 1 Corinthians 6:9. Let's talk about the posture of the kingdom, the mannerisms you gotta have in the kingdom. Come on.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 6 and verse 9. Now ye know that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God.
Let's see who the unrighteous is. Read.
Be not deceived.
Don't deceive yourself.
Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate.
Nor effeminate. You got your hand on your hips. You rocking your hips. You let me see what else. You wearing purses. You giving men bags of honey buns. You just out here. You just doing all kinds of effeminate.
I was gonna say, always back talking. That's what they grew up doing with their mama. When you had a father, when a man told you to do something, you didn't respond back. So those men who was raised by their mother, they always got a rebuttal.
Gotta have a last word. That's effeminate, man. That's effeminate. They learn that at a young age. Young age. But anyway, that's all I got.